Imagine throwing a punch, but without holding back, without fear, without limits, without the brakes your body uses to protect you. Your fist shoots out with all the force it can muster. Every muscle pushes to its maximum. Every fiber contracts as if it were the last time. But that energy has to go somewhere. If the punch connects, it could be devastating. If it misses, the damage could come right back at you. So the question is simple. What would happen if you used all your strength in one punch? Would your body become a perfect impact machine? Or would you end up collapsing from the inside? What we're going to look at today is the science behind a punch thrown with everything you've got. As we know, a punch doesn't originate in the arm, it starts in the ground. When you push off with your feet, the ground returns the same force in the opposite direction. That energy travels up your legs, through your hips, is amplified in your torso, and travels up your arm until it ends up in your fist. This is what's known as a kinetic chain. Each part of the body transfers energy to the next, as if you were a machine designed to channel an explosion. But that machine has brakes, and lots of them. Every muscle has tension sensors called Golgi tendon organs, which detect when you're about to break. When the tension gets too high, these sensors send a signal to your nervous system. Either the force decreases or the muscle tears. There are also muscle spindles that regulate stretching and reflex circuits that prevent your joints from moving beyond their safe range. And on top of all this is the brain, which acts as a supervisor, voluntarily limiting the amount of force you unleash. Because believe it or not, your body could generate far more power than you normally use. It just doesn't allow it. Not because it doesn't want you to win, but because it wants you to survive the blow. So let's get interesting. What would happen if those brakes disappeared? If the sensors didn't activate? If the brain didn't intervene? If your entire body pushed with its maximum power? Would you become a human weapon or a biological failure? First, what would happen if you removed the brakes? As I've said in other videos, the human body isn't designed to unleash its full power. It's designed to survive it. If you were to turn off those brakes, like the Golgi tendon organs, muscle reflexes, and brain signals, you wouldn't unleash power. You'd unleash destruction. Muscles aren't independent motors. They work in sync with bones, ligaments, and tendons, and all of them have a physical limit, a structural resistance that defines when they stop working and begin to break down. First, the tendons fail, those white cords that connect muscles to bones. When a muscle contracts beyond what a tendon can handle, the strain tears it apart like an old rope snapping. In an arm, that means instant pain and a tendon that can literally detach from the bone. Then come the muscles. Contracting without coordination, some fibers shorten prematurely, others overstretch, and the internal pressure ends up rupturing them from the inside. Micro tears, bruising, and swelling form, which can leave you unable to move your arm in seconds. If the blow continues its trajectory, the force travels to the shoulder and elbow, where the joints act like forced hinges. But without control, those hinges can rotate more than they should. The result? Dislocations, capsule ruptures, stretched or torn ligaments. And if the blow impacts something hard, a wall, a helmet, or even a head, the force you generated doesn't disappear. It returns. It travels back through your bones like an echo. And when that energy rebounds toward you, the structure that suffers most isn't the muscle, but the skeleton. There will be fractures in the radius or ulna, cracks in the humerus, even compression fractures in the neck if the blow is too violent. The force doesn't dissipate. It exacts a price. Because using 100% of your body doesn't mean controlling it, it means losing it. And this is where nature shows its irony. The more you try to unleash your maximum power, the faster you destroy yourself. When the blow connects, if the blow manages to connect all that power traveling through your body, it's transferred in a fraction of a second. At that moment, science becomes pure physics. The energy you generated doesn't disappear. It transforms into momentum. It's the combination of force and contact time. The shorter the contact, the more violent the impact. And the more rigid the target, the more energy rebounds back toward you. That's why a punch thrown with a completely tense body can be more destructive but also more dangerous. The opponent's body acts as a partial shock absorber. If the punch sinks into it, the energy is dispersed. If the punch hits something that doesn't move, that energy rebounds directly toward the attacker. The contact area also matters. The smaller it is, the more concentrated the energy. A punch with the knuckles or elbow can pierce defenses, but it can also fracture your own bones if the angle isn't perfect. A closed fist, poorly aligned, transmits energy unevenly, forcing the wrist to absorb some of the impact. That's where classic injuries appear: sprains, strains, or even boxer's fractures. That fifth metacarpal bone, which breaks when striking with the pinky finger or without proper wrist rotation. In contrast, a well-thrown, aligned punch, with controlled rotation and without excessive stiffness, allows the energy to flow from the body to the target without rebounding. It's not just strength, it's coordination. Therein lies the secret that separates a trained fighter from someone who simply unleashes all their anger. Because when the punch is pure instinct, the body doesn't calculate, it only reacts. And when physics takes over, neither anger nor adrenaline can save you from the rebound. Using all your strength isn't power, it's surrendering to instinct. Because the body wasn't made to unleash its energy uncontrollably, but but to find the perfect balance between power and precision. So no, using 100% of your strength doesn't make you invincible. It makes you your own target. Science calls it protective inhibition. I'd call it human balance. And perhaps deep down, that's the difference between hitting in anger and hitting with purpose. Subscribe.